Hello everyone, and welcome back to another session of Dark Souls PvP and another weapon showcase. This time I am redoing one of my earliest weapon showcases on the Darksword. Now, in the original video on this, I was using an occult Darksword, I was on a faith build, I was casting miracles, and the attention of the video wasn't 100% directly on the Darksword. I had a slightly different format to what I do now. Didn't really go over the pros and cons and list the stats required and all that, so after getting a request on that video recently to redo the showcase, I am, well, redoing it. I listen to you guys, I do sometimes, I swear. But anyway, in all seriousness, let's get started with the showcase. So, the Darksword. It weighs 6 units. You get it by getting +2 ranking in the Dark Wraith Covenant, of course. It weighs 6 units, as I said a few seconds ago. You have a C scaling in Strength and in Dexterity, and it requires 16 Strength and 16 Dexterity in order to wield it. So that is 6 higher in each Strength and Dexterity than the standard Longsword, and 4 higher than the Sunlight Straightsword. Interesting, different, that's for sure, and very, very heavy for a Greatsword classed weapon. Equal in weight with the Drakesword, so yeah. Now, other things about this weapon that are worth noting, the R2 attack on this weapon, I believe has a higher poise break than the other R2 attacks that the Straightsword class weapons have. It also is the slower swing speed for all of its attacks, all of its R1s, similar to the Sunlight Straightsword, how it's got a slower swing speed, this one does as well. So I'm pretty sure you could tell that from, just watching already, but worth mentioning anyway. So anyway, let's get started with the pros and the cons of the weapon. Now, I would have to say that the biggest pro of this weapon is that people don't really expect it to be used and are not very good at parrying its R2 attacks. They don't really expect them, and when people see you going for them, they will, chances are, try and go for a backstab, which is understandable. It's a slow attack, they'll go for a backstab. The good thing about that, though, is that its second R2 comes out a bit faster, and you can unlock and smack them with it, and it'll all be good for you, not so much for them, though. Worst case scenario in that situation, you'll probably just end up canceling out their backstab, and you just go from there. But in most cases, you'll end up hitting them and being able to get out, roll away in just enough time, so that's always a nice thing. Like right there, how I turned to get him. He wasn't going for a backstab per se, but he would have been in position to be able to do one, so it's just something worth noting. Now, other pros of the weapon, I would have to say, other than its R2 attacks and how hard they are to parry and, how you can use them to your advantage. Other pros, I would have to say its rolling attack is actually very good. It's the only thrusting attack that the sword has, but it's one of the fastest attacks that the sword has as well. So that's something you really should keep in mind. I should use it more often, and yes, the rolling attacks are easy to parry, they are predictable, but when you fight someone who gets used to fighting you when you're using a weapon with a slower swing speed like this, or a sword with a slower swing speed like this, they won't expect the fast rolling attack. They just won't expect it to come out so fast. So that can really throw them off. Other good things about this weapon, I seem to have a fair bit of luck hitting people while they're in their instability frames. I don't know if that's because I'm not really aiming for them and I'm just trying to hit them in general, and the slower swing speed makes me hit their instability frames, or if I'm just getting lucky. I don't know, but it seems that way to me, so I'm mentioning it to you guys. Other pros of the weapon, there really are not many. One nice thing about it is if you do upgrade it to, say, an occult path, you get an A scaling in faith. If you upgrade it to a enchanted path, you get an A scaling in intelligence. That's always nice. Can't go wrong with that. Anyway, the cons of the weapon, I would have to say the biggest con would be its swing speed. Yes, it's a heavier straight sword, definitely is a heavier straight sword weighing 6 units, but its swing speed, it's so slow for a straight sword. You just, I don't know, it's not that great for combos. It really could use for an increase of speed. It really causes you to play a little more smart with it. right there, when he rolled behind me, he was definitely in position for a backstab with that. If I hadn't turned, I am sure that it would have become a backstab. Whether he was going for it or not, that remains to be seen, but anyway. Other cons of the weapon, you've got its weight and the higher stat requirements in order to use it. In addition to that, you've got the fact that you need to be in a covenant just to get the weapon itself, unless you have someone give it to you. So that being said, that pretty much sums everything up, actually. This is the last fight. Just to quickly recap, I'm just going to go over the basic stuff on this weapon again. It weighs 6 units. You need 16 strength and 16 dexterity to use it, and it has a C scaling in both of those stats. So, that being said, I said already, this is the last fight. I really don't have anything else to say, and I don't have time to recap all the pros and cons. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this was, worth redoing for you guys, and I will see you next time.